Uh, a good day, everyone. Welcome. Let's run through this chapter. Please note we used different materials. Okay, different materials. We treat different materials. So let's run through this change of state. The statement below were made by some students describing what happened during the determination of melting point of solid. Um, Let me see. Okay, we have multiple options. The correct option here will be option A. Why? When melting is occurring, or for melting to occur, the first thing that happens is that the temperature of the solid would rise until melting would start. That's two. The next thing that will happen is that during melting the temperature will be constant, and next thing is the temperature continue to rise after all solid had melted. So number one is option A. Number two, the temperature at which the water vapor present in the air saturates the air and begins to condense is also known as, this is known as dew point. Number two is known as dew point, and dew point is an atmospheric condition whereby the water vapor that is present in the air would saturate the air and begins to condense. It's known as dew point. Number three, when the vapor of a substance is in equilibrium with its liquid, it is said to be saturated. Three is option E. Four, a pressure cooker saves both time and fuel in cooking because inside the cooker the boiling point of the water is raised. The boiling point of the water is raised inside the cooker. Number five, heat is supplied to a block of ice at 0 degrees Celsius until half of it has melted. Which of the following statement is true? This number five would be similar. Heat is supplied to a block of ice, okay, at 0 degrees Celsius until half of it had melted. Which of the following statement is true? Like to zoom in so you could see. Sorry. All right. Heat is supplied to a block of ice at 0 degrees Celsius until half of it has melted. Which of the following statement is true? The temperature remains constant and the volume of the ice will decrease. Okay, the temperature remains constant and the volume of the ice will decrease. You see, the temperature rises and the ice expands. No, the ice gives out heat as it melts. The temperature remains constant the volume will experience a decrease. It's being melted, they melt. 6, a vapor is said to be saturated when a dynamic equilibrium exists between the liquid molecule and the vapor molecule at a given temperature. Number 6 is option B. 7, heat was supplied to a block at 0 degrees Celsius until half of it is melted. Which of the following statement is true? 7 is a repeated question, so you see similar thing. You also encounter a lot of questions that are repeated. The temperature remains constant and the volume of the ice decrease. Change of state is accompanied by change in, number 8, a change in the volume and the heat content. Change of state is accompanied by change of volume and heat content. 9, which of the following may be used to determine relative humidity in a physics lab? You go use wet and dry bulb hygrometer and hair hygrometer. Option B. Number 9 is option B. Why? Write down. Hygrometer measures relative humidity. Hydrometer measures relative density. Don't forget the two of them would always confuse students. Hygrometer, they measure relative humidity, while hydrometer measures relative density. Next, manometer measures pressure. Next question. Dew point is the temperature at which water vapor in the atmosphere does what is just such sufficient to cause cooling. Option D. 10 is option D. 11. If a solid changes directly into a gas when heated, when heat is supplied, the process is called solid directly into a gas. Is called sublimation. Sublimation. When a solid changes into a gas without passing through the liquid phase, it's called sublimation. Right. Solid changes directly to gas without the liquid phase is called sublimation. Sublimation. It's called sublimation. Sublimation. Number 12. Which of the following statement is not correct? Which of the following statement is not correct? So we are given option. Which of the following statement is not correct? A. Boiling occurs when the saturated vapor pressure of the liquid involves equal the external pressure. That's not correct. That's not correct. Boiling occurs when saturated vapor of the liquid equals the external pressure. Okay, wait. Second, both the boiling point and the saturated vapor pressure of a given liquid depends on the external pressure. C. The saturated vapor pressure rises with increase in temperature. D. The saturated vapor pressure is independent of the volume available for the vapor. And E. If it is possible to boil water at a lower temperature than 100 degrees at high altitude. Yeah. Number 12 is actually B. Both the boiling point and saturated vapor pressure of a given liquid depends on external pressure. It don't depend on external pressure. Actually, saturated vapor pressure, listen, you can write this down. Saturated vapor pressure would increase, and when it equals external pressure, a liquid will boil, but it does not depend on the external pressure. So option B. 13. In an experiment in which molten naphthalene is allowed to cool, the cooling curve in the figure was obtained. The temperature 80 degrees Celsius is known as dash. At 80 degrees Celsius is known, okay, this part is known as dash. 13 is known as the melting point. Melting point, right. Melting point is also known as, just right, melting point equals freezing point. Next, boiling point equals condensation point. Boiling point equals condensation point. 14. Which of the following is common to evaporation and boiling? I want you to write down difference between evaporation and boiling. 1. Evaporation occurs at any temperature. 2. Evaporation is a surface phenomena. 3. Evaporation is independent of any pressure. 4. Evaporation is a slow process. 5. Evaporation is not constant. Just put it like that. Evaporation is not right. Evaporation does not need a constant temperature. Next, evaporation is actually a change of state below boiling point. Evaporation is a change of state below boiling point. Next, wind aids evaporation. The wind it aids it, like it helps it. The wind aids evaporation. Next, right, boiling point occurs at a specific temperature. Next, it occurs throughout the entire body of the liquid. Next, it occurs at a definite pressure under a certain atmospheric pressure also. Next, it is rapid. That is boiling point, right? It is rapid. Next, the temperature is constant if the liquid is pure. Temperature for boiling point is constant if the liquid is pure. Next, the change of state at boiling point causes a liquid to change into becoming a vapor. Next, boiling point is independent of wind. So, which of the following is common to evaporation and boiling point? 14. Read that item very well. the both of them involve change of state. 14 is C. The both of them they change something from like boiling point now changes items from liquid to vapor. 15. Which of the following graphs clearly illustrate the temperature change which takes place as a piece of ice at minus 10 degrees Celsius is slowly heated? This is it one. Option A. 15 is always option A. Look at the diagram where it comes up like this, goes like this, go again, and like this. I don't want to talk much. 16. Which of the following correctly represent the variation of a saturated vapor pressure of water with temperature? 16 is option A. 17. Which of the following conditions will make water boil at a temperature of 100 degrees Celsius when the atmospheric pressure is 750 millimeter mercury? Increase in the external pressure. Option A. 18. The saturated vapor pressure of a liquid increases as the saturated vapor pressure of a liquid increases as the temperature of the liquid increases. 19. A block of ice floats on water inside a container. If the block of ice gets completely melted, the level of water in the container will decrease. It will decrease, and the reason is water contracts on melting. 20. A block of ice at 0 degrees Celsius is put in an open vessel and heated uniformly until half the water boils off. Which of the following graph best illustrate the change in temperature during the process? Option B. 20 is option B. Go and check question 15 with this similar thing. If a room is saturated with water vapor, the temperature of the room must be below or at the dew point. Option D. 22. Which of the following statement gives the true difference between evaporation and boiling? Don't forget we talked about the graphs. We give a major difference, so go read about it. Let me see. Evaporation occurs at what temperature, while boiling occurs at a specific temperature. That's one. Next, evaporation is affected by surface phenomena, while boiling is not. Evaporation is a surface phenomena. Boiling is an internal phenomena. You could write that down. Next question 23. Question 23. The correct cooling curve for a molten substance such as naphthalene is 23 is option D. You could go back to question 13. We did similar thing there. 24. A vapor is said to be saturated when a dynamic equilibrium exists between the molecules of the liquid and the vapor molecule at a given temperature. Option B. 24 is option B. 25 is a liquid boils when its saturated vapor pressure is equal to the external pressure. Dissolved substance in a pure water leads to increase in the boiling point. When the external pressure is increased, the boiling point increases. 25. Let's see. When the external pressure is increased, the boiling point increases. 25 option A. All three of the first ones. Dissolved substance in pure water decrease the boiling point. That's not it. It actually increases it, not decreases it. So number 25 is option A. I. Dissolved substance, right? Dissolved substance or impurities elevate or increases boiling point, but lowers the melting point of a substance. Hope you've jotted that down. 26. The readings above are for 3 consecutive days from a wet and dry bulb hygrometer. Don't forget hygrometer, the measure relative humidity, while hydrometer measures relative density. It can be concluded that the relative humidity for the 3 days did what? From 30 to 22, then it goes down. Notice what is happening. The difference in temperature of the dry and the wet thermometers. This is actually the measure of relative humidity. So if you minus 30 from 22, you will get 8, right? 30 from 22, you get 8. 29 from 22, you get 7. 25 from 21, you get 4. So notice it's increasing from 8 to 7, then to 4. So what actually happened? There's an increase, there's a steady increase of relative humidity. There's a steady increase of relative humidity. There's a steady increase of relative humidity. I want you to jot this down. Hygrometer works on the principles of number one, the less humid the air, the more rapid the rate of evaporation. The less humid the air, that's humidity talks about the amount of water in the atmosphere. So when they say the less humid, it means say water no too dey the atmosphere. The less humid the air, the more rapid the evaporation, and hence the cooling of the bulb. Just write that. Just stop there. Don't write the hence. Next, evaporation causes cooling, and lastly, the smaller the temperature difference between the two hygrometer, thermometer, the higher the relative density. The higher the relative density. So on day 3, the relative density is actually very high. The relative density is also very high because 30 minus 22 gives us 8, but 25 minus 21 gives us 4. So the relative humidity increases steadily. 27, 18 wire with heavy weight attached. 18 wire with heavy weight attached to both ends is hung across over a block of ice resting on two support. If the wire cuts through the ice block while the block remains solid behind the wire, the process is called regulation. You can try it. Get ice block, put ice block in your fridge, maybe in a nylon. After some time, remove it. Use a thin metal wire to pierce through it. As it's piercing, it will be going through. You get to a point where the other part would sealed and the metal would cross it over. Regulation. 28, blowing air over a liquid aids evaporation by what? By decreasing its vapor pressure. 28 is the 29. The table shows the saturated vapor pressure against temperature in a certain town. If the vapor pressure in this town is 20 degrees Celsius, at 20 degrees Celsius is 10 millimeter mercury, what is the relative humidity? Relative humidity talks about the amount of water vapor present in the atmosphere. Amount of water vapor present in the atmosphere. How do you calculate this? The formula is relative humidity equals water vapor at 20 degrees Celsius over saturated vapor pressure at 20 degrees Celsius times 100%. So you'd say, let's say at 10 millimeter mercury. Okay, 20 degrees Celsius is 10 millimeter mercury. So you make use of this one, 20 degrees Celsius temperature. You say 20 over 17.50 times 100. You arrive at 57%. That's why they calculate that one. 30. The phenomena whereby water droplet in the atmosphere combine with dust particle in the air to reduce visibility is mist. Option B is mist. Right. Fog is a severe case of mist. Fog is a severe case of mist. Why cloud, C-L-O-U-D, cloud is mist that is high up in the atmosphere. Hope you've written that down. 31. When the temperature difference between the wet and dry bulb hygrometer is high, this indicates that the relative humidity is low. 31 is C. Relative humidity is low. We've talked about this. Whenever the difference between the high and the dry bulb hygrometer is high, the relative humidity is low. But if the temperature difference is low, the relative humidity is what? High. The relative humidity is high. Let's go. The 32. The process whereby a liquid turns simultaneously into vapor is called. It turns simultaneously into vapor is called. Let me see the option. Evaporation. 33. At a lower humidity in an environment, the human skin will usually be rough and dry. Lower humidity, rough and dry. No enough water in the air. 34. Increase in melting point of the liquid. Increase in melting point. Decrease in the melting point. Decreasing. Which of the statements above would affect the increase in the pressure in a liquid? Which of the statement above about the effect of increase in pressure in a liquid are correct. Let me see. Increase the boiling point of a liquid, and again increase the boiling point and decrease the melting point of a liquid. Which of the following statements are above about the effect of the increase in pressure in a liquid are correct? 34 is option A. 35. The diagram above is the heating curve for a solid. QR is the diagram above is the heating curve of a solid. QR is the melting region. This flat place now the melting region. This is the second time we are coming across such questions. The melting region. 35, right? Last round. All right. So let's say if the partial pressure of water vapor at 27 degrees Celsius is 18 millimeter mercury, and the saturated vapor pressure of the atmosphere at the same temperature is 24 millimeter mercury, the relative humidity, you go just say 18 over 24 times 100, you go get 75%. If a container, 37, if a container is filled with ice to the brim, what happens at the level of water when it's completely melted? Remember, there will be a decrease. Option B. The water level will drop. Option B. Repeated question. 38. The small droplet of water that forms on the grass in the early hours of the morning is 38 is actually dew. 39. A vapor is said to be saturated when 39. A dynamic equilibrium exists between liquid. 40. The phenomenon that shows that increase in pressure lowers the melting point can be observed in 40. Regulation. 41. Steam burn is more severe than that of boiling water. If steam don't burn you before, maybe they cook food or they boil water, you can't open the pot, the thing can't burn you. The hot pass if the water touch you. 41 is actually steam burn possess greater heat energy per unit mass. It possesses greater heat energy per unit mass. 42. Which of the following is not a factor that can increase the rate of evaporation of water in a lake? Increase in the pressure of the atmosphere. Increase in the pressure of the atmosphere is not a factor. 43. Two liquid X and Y having the same mass are supplied with the same quantity of heat. If the temperature rises in X, is twice that of Y, the ratio of the specific heat capacity is 43. 43 is option A, 2:1. Food cooks quicker in salt water than in pure water because food nutrients on the thermal dissolved substance on the boiling point. 44. This is because of dissolved substance. The dissolved substance. Steam from boiling water causes more damage on the skin than those from boiling. Steam from boiling water causes more damage than the boiling water because 45 water has a higher specific heat capacity. Steam and latent. The steam is at a higher temperature than the water. 45 is option C, is at a higher temperature. 46. The small droplet of water that forms on the grass in the early hours of the morning is your dew. 47. The melting point of a substance is equivalent to its 47. Solidification temperature. Option A. 48. The temperature at which water vapor present in the air just is sufficient to saturate the air is called 48. Don't forget to dew point. 49. Vapor is said to be saturated on top of an enclosed liquid if the rate of condensation is equal to that of vaporization. 50, which is the last question for this chapter. A vapor is said to be saturated when there's an equilibrium existing. Molecule leaving the liquid for the vapor are equal to the number of those. Molecule leaving is equal to the number of those entering the molecule leaving equals the number of those entering. That's what is supposed to be option B. I think there's a typo error. So molecule leaving the liquid for the vapor are equal to the number of those leaving the vapor for the liquid. Yes, it's correct. 50 is option B. Here's where we'll put a stop. If you've been able to come through this far, you've done well. Hope you were able to jot down a note. That note you snap and send to us on the WhatsApp group for assessment. If you also have question, you could also drop the question on the WhatsApp group. Thanks for watching. If this is your first time and you would like to be part of our class, please note we run classes for entrance examinations. You could DM to enroll. I'm going to drop the link that you can use to DM me directly in the description of this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.